discuss one of the important topic called as machine learning. So, before deep diving into machine learning, let's consider some few examples which we came across on daily basis. Let's say, suppose if you are searching something on Google, let's say you are searching for iPhone 16. So you just type iPhone 16 on your Google search engine. After some time, you would have noticed that on every social media platform or even on YouTube or any other platform, the ads for iPhone 16 will pop up. Right? So why is it so? Again, let's take one more example. If you search something on any e-commerce platform, so you know we have different e-commerce platforms like Flipkart, Amazon, Myntra, or anything. If you search for any particular product, same ad will appear even in your Google searches, even in your YouTube history, for that matter, even in case of any payment app. So why is it so? Again, let's take one more example. So all of you are using the social media platform, right? So let's take the example of Instagram. Suppose if you are using Instagram and you are watching some particular type of reel, let's say food vlogs. After some time, the same reel or the same type reel will reappear again and again. Why is it so? The main reason behind that is so the whatever data you are giving as an input will be stored and will be analyzed, and based on the data or your input data, same will be appear. That is the machine learning. So we have a recommendation system for that, we have a Gmail spam classifier for that, and we have n number of examples. Even if we consider any streaming platform like Netflix, Amazon, you can see if you watch some particular genre of movie, let's say action, the same type of movies will be recommended to you. Why is it so? Because of recommendation system. Your data will be stored, will be analyzed, and based on that, the feed will be given to you. Right? And behind that, the main key concept here is machine learning. So, what is machine learning? So, basically, machine learning is a subset of AI. So, AI is nothing but we call it as artificial intelligence. So, machine learning is a subset of AI which deals with the data. Right? So, let me again recall it. So, machine learning is a subset of AI in which the model or machine will learn from the data without being explicitly programmed. So, in such cases, we will not explicitly program our machine based on the individual data. So, it will learn from the data, it will find patterns from the data, it will gain some insights, will have some inference from it, and based on that data, the model will be again retrained. That is called as machine learning. So, machine learning is nothing but a subset of AI in which the model will learn from the data without being explicitly programmed. Again, machine learning is classified into three types. What are those? So let me write the first one. So the first one is supervised learning. So the very first type in machine learning is supervised learning. Second is unsupervised learning. Second is unsupervised learning. Third is reinforcement learning. Third is reinforcement learning. So we have basically three categories in case of machine learning. So it can be a supervised learning, unsupervised learning, or reinforcement learning. Mostly 10, if we consider 10 cases, among 10, 9 will be supervised. So mostly you will be dealing with the supervised learning. So we know that the machine learning is a subset of AI in which model will learn from the data without being explicitly programmed. And again it is classified into three types. So it can be a supervised learning, unsupervised learning, or reinforcement learning. But based on what? These are three different categories. Based on the type of data you are dealing with. So If you have a labeled data, if you have a labeled data, then the type of learning is definitely going to be a supervised learning. Basically, if you are dealing with the labeled data, then the type of learning is going to be a supervised learning. Now, what does labeled data mean? What is the meaning of labeled data? Labeled data is such type of data where the target column will present. Let me repeat it. So the labeled data is nothing but a such type of a data where the target column will already present. Means that we are going to perform some prediction task here. Prediction task. So always remember, if you are dealing with the labeled data, then you are going to predict something. And if you are dealing with the labeled data, it means it is a supervised learning. So always remember, whenever someone will give you a labeled data, then it is definitely going to be a supervised learning. Now, what is unsupervised learning? Unlike to labeled data, here we will have a unlabeled data. So let me write down. So basically, we will be dealing with unlabeled data. So what is unlabeled data? In case of labeled data, we will have a target column which will be predicted by a supervised machine learning model. Target column can be anything. It can be any category or it can be any number. But in case of unsupervised learning, we will deal with the unlabeled data. So what is unlabeled data? Unlabeled data is nothing but where the target column or prediction task will be absent. If we don't have a label in case of unsupervised learning data, then what is the purpose of unsupervised learning? The whole purpose of unsupervised learning is to find patterns. The whole purpose is to find patterns and the relation between the data points. Since we don't have a target column, we cannot have a prediction in case of unsupervised learning. The only possible thing we can do in unsupervised learning is finding the pattern, finding the relation between the different data points. Right? So the key difference between supervised learning and unsupervised learning is that in case of supervised learning, we will have a labeled data in which we are going to perform a prediction task. In case of unsupervised learning, we will be dealing with the unlabeled data where we will be finding some patterns, finding some relation between the data points. Right? And the third category is a reinforcement learning. So what is reinforcement learning? Basically, reinforcement learning is a little bit different than supervised and unsupervised learning. Here we are dealing with the labeled data and here we are dealing with the unlabeled data. But in case of reinforcement learning, here are two most important things. The first one is the agent and second one is the environment. It is a little bit different than supervised and unsupervised learning. How is it different? In case of a reinforcement learning, an agent will perform some action in a simulated environment where based on the action performed by this agent, it will either receive reward or penalty. Let me repeat. In reinforcement learning, an agent will perform some particular action in some environment. Based on the action performed by that agent, it will either receive a reward or a penalty. And the goal of reinforcement learning is to maximize the reward. If the reward is maximized, means that the agent is learning quickly. And that is the whole purpose of reinforcement learning. Right? So example can be self-driving car. So the self-driving car will be trained in simulated environment so that in the real world we can have a self-driving car or driverless car. So machine learning is primarily classified into supervised learning, unsupervised learning and reinforcement learning. So all these three have different use cases, all these three have different categories. Again, in case of supervised learning, we saw that we are going to have some prediction, means that we have a labeled data, means we are going to predict something. So whatever prediction we are doing can be either a categorical or can be a numerical. Please remember, whatever prediction we are doing in case of supervised learning is either be a categorical or a numerical. Means that in case of a target column, we will have a category or we will have some numeric value. So based on these two types, supervised learning is again classified into two types. If we have a categorical values in target column, then it is called as classification. It is called as classification. And if we have a numeric values in a target column, then it is called as regression. So again, supervised learning is classified into two types. So it can be a classification as well as regression. So let me give you a quick review. So what is machine learning? Machine learning is basically a subset of AI in which a model will learn from the data without being explicitly programmed. So these are classified into three categories. It can be supervised learning, unsupervised learning and reinforcement learning. So what is supervised learning? In case of supervised learning, the goal is to predict something based on the label data. Means that the model will find the relationship between the dependent feature and independent feature. What is the purpose of unsupervised learning? The purpose of unsupervised learning is to deal with the unlabeled data and find the pattern and relationship between the data points. What is reinforcement learning? In case of reinforcement learning, an agent will perform some action in some simulated environment. Based on the action performed by that agent, it will either receive a reward or penalty. And the goal of reinforcement learning is to maximize the reward. Again, this supervised learning is classified into two types. So it can be classification as well as regression. If the target column is a categorical, then it is called as classification. And if the target column is a numerical, then it is called as regression. Right? So these are two categories under supervised learning. Again, in case of unsupervised learning, we have two types. So it can be clustering and association. So in case of unsupervised learning, we have clustering as well as association. So what is clustering? Clustering is nothing but grouping the similar data points based on its characteristics. And what is association? Finding the relationship between the different data points. And mostly the association will be used in transactional databases, where the data points or the different items occur frequently. Right? And the example of reinforcement learning can be Q learning. Right? So machine learning classified into three types. Again, supervised is classified into two types. Unsupervised is classified into two types. And reinforcement example is Q learning. So this is just the introduction to machine learning. Again, we have n number of things in case of supervised learning, unsupervised learning. We have different models in supervised learning. It can be KNN, linear regression, multiple linear regression, random forest, decision tree. Again, in case of unsupervised learning, we have K-means clustering, K-means plus clustering. Again, we have association rule mining. In case of reinforcement learning, we have a Q learning, then Markov theorem. There are n number of things associated with the machine learning. So this is just an overview of a machine learning.